Hey there YouTube, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. It is I, Nadia the Nerdy, and today we are going to be getting into one of my all-time favorite topics to talk about, which you can probably tell from this shirt. We are going to be talking about some of the new updates surrounding the Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you follow my channel, then you already know that I have covered this show pretty extensively so far. I have a lot of thoughts on it, 27 minutes worth of thoughts to be exact, technically cut down from 2 hours, so lots of thoughts. And if you haven't seen that video, definitely go check that out right now and then come back here and watch this one and we'll get into the updates. Okay, so to get started, this might be a little bit of old news at this point because things happen really fast these days.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
But the showrunner who ran season 1, Albert Kim, did step down and is apparently moving on to Disney to work on the Percy Jackson show that they have. It's like a remake. I don't know. I don't really follow Percy Jackson, but from what I've heard from fans, that show has not been the best. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should I read the Percy Jackson books? I don't know. I've never read them. But anyway, point is, that's where Albert Kim is going. And we have these two other showrunners that have stepped up to the plate. And their names are Jabbar Rezani and Christine Boylan. And they're going to be taking over as co-showrunners. The first season, Bolan was a co-executive producer, while Rezani was an executive producer as well as director and special effects supervisor. I will say that Rezani did the special effects for that show Lost in Space from Netflix, as well as Stranger Things. And we all know Stranger Things has some pretty crazy special effects. And honestly, I would say that was one of my favorite parts, was the special effects. So it seems like we can kind of thank Rezani for that. But he also was a director, and the 2 episodes that he directed were personally my least favorite episodes, and also, according to IMDb, were the worst rated episodes. And they were Omashu and Into the Dark, the 2 where they just mashed up all of those storylines into what the show was. So I don't know, that's kind of a mixed bag. Clearly he does special effects really well, but the directing of those episodes was not my favorite. But it's hard to tell when it comes to these shows how much of that was just the writing and the storyboard and how much of that was actually the directing.
Shit, I don't even know. Like, I can't even tell you that. Like,
those are the people who are taking over. They're going to be working on season 2 at the very least. Obviously, we know Netflix renewed Avatar for season 2 and for season 3. So all I can really say for sure right now is that season 2 is going to be run by these people, because obviously there's been a precedent now set by Albert Kim of the showrunner stepping down. So who knows what's going to happen for season 3, honestly. But the 2 episodes that Rezani directed were the most condensed episodes of this series, in my opinion, where a lot of the story got pretty jumbled up. And that kind of leads me to my next update. I'm reading this from comicbook.com, quoting an interview from Rezani where he basically says that yes, season 2 will be condensed. Here's what he had to say. I think it's a lot like season 1. There's a lot of content in the animated series, and we will be looking at all of that content. But we don't have the same numbers of episodes that we have in the animated series, so certainly there will be some condensing that has to take place. So obviously, just like the first season, they're going to be condensing, and that's why I really don't think that anything is really going to change with these showrunners. I feel like the Avatar fan base is generally pretty full of hope.
Still, we cannot give up hope, for hope is all we have.
We want season 2 to be better than season 1 collectively. Even if you liked season 1, you can still admit that there were flaws. I think overall the reaction was not the best. So a lot of fans were hoping that season 2 would be a lot better and they could rectify some of the mistakes. And I think maybe there is still potential to do that. But to me, this is kind of just showing that no, they're probably just gonna keep doing exactly what they were doing. They just have different showrunners. But the showrunners clearly were heavily involved in season 1. So it doesn't, to me, really seem like a lot is gonna change and it's gonna keep going down the same path that season 1 set, which is basically, to me, a slightly alternate reality or like fanfic version. And I just think it's frustrating a little bit about the condensing because yes, while there are technically more episodes, about 18 to 20 episodes per season for the original show, so each episode was only 20 minutes, whereas this show is giving us 40 minutes to 60 minutes an episode. So realistically, there's still a somewhat similar runtime, and the condensing I get, but I said this a lot in my other video. One of my biggest problems with the Netflix version was how much of their own storylines they added into the show, and then they just say, oh, well, we're condensing. No, you're telling a different story. You're hitting the same points, you're hitting the same beats, the major themes, but the way you're going about it is so different from the actual show. And again, if you liked it, that's great, but I'm just saying objectively, it flowed different from the original show because of how they decided to tell the story. That's why it kind of feels a little bit like a fanfic rather than an actual adaptation. I just made a video about House of the Dragon, why House of the Dragon was one of the best adaptations that we've seen recently. You should definitely go check out that video, but it basically was all about how the source material allowed the show to have more leeway with how it wanted to tell the story and it still be acceptable within the lore. This is a very definitive story because we know exactly how the story flowed. And yes, it is animated, so some things do have to change, but ultimately the story is there. There's no hearsay, there's no speculation. So if you're gonna tell that story, tell that story. Or if you want to tell a story that's inspired by that story, then say that. Don't say you're making a live action Avatar, even though technically that's what they did, but it feels very different. So those are the two updates that I've seen. I don't know, there's still some potential. I still think like the casting could be really great if they allowed the actors to actually play the characters. If anything, that's what I'm hoping that we can see. Even if they do change the story and they change the way it flows while keeping the major points in there, if they can just let the actors play the characters as they're supposed to be and let them have their fundamental personality traits, I would consider that a win at this point. We'll have to see how it actually plays out as we get more information, more teasers, generally more. But to me, it kind of seems like we're just going to be getting more of the same. So yeah, that's all I got. Let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think about the condensing? Because yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be fine if they weren't also adding, but that's just me. Are you watching season 2 or were you tapped out after season 1? Did you love season 1? And if so, I would love to know why. What were your favorite parts? What were your least favorite parts? Let me know everything in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe so you could see more videos from me covering all sorts of nerdy things. And I will see you next time. Bye!